Stuart, it's a beautiful day in our beautiful neighborhood. Lots of hammering projects going on, including at the cottage on the hill. And I want to kind of give you, I know, don't you love it? I do love it. So an update, some answers to a lot of questions you guys have. So what I'm going to try to do is those questions or comments that come up repeatedly, those are the ones I really want to make sure that I address each week. We're going to show you some updates in my kitchen, in my office, do a flower arrangement of the week, give you a little bit of a progress report on the patio, just lots of stuff going on, Stuart. It's kind of a muddy day, but we've got some sunshine ahead, so we'll be able to really move forward. So what do you say? Should we move forward with this show? Okay, let's do it. So part of moving forward is addressing some of the ornamentation and the decor of the front porch. And Stuart, it's a little weird. It's like I no sooner have a thought in my head than it's expressed by our followers out there. And yeah, and so many of you made the comment that these light fixtures look too small for this house, and they don't necessarily match the aesthetic of a cottage, and also you could kind of see the light bulbs. Well, these are kind of sweet little fixtures in their own right, but I think I agree with you completely. In fact, I agree with you so much that even before I read these comments, I had already ordered some carriage lights that I think look very much more cottagey. So that is our first question of the day. Do you guys agree that these look a lot more cottagey and befitting to this house?
I like it.
You like them. I think they look a lot more cottagey. And I think they also have, these look just almost too small to me. They just don't look like they have the visual weight that they should have. And I think, I'm going to just put this here because I can't put it over that, but I think this will very much more look carriagey. It almost looks like an English pub or something.
Yeah.
I like the way they look. I also kind of matched a little bit of the lines in them to the lines of the little one that hangs up there in the cornice.
I don't know that I ever noticed that.
Notice that it's a sweet little light, and I really like that one, and I don't want to change it, but some of the features on this kind of match the features on this carriage light. Okay, so number one, that's our question of the day. Do you agree that these look more carriagey? Here's my next question, something I'm kind of thinking about. I may experiment with a little bit. I do like the way these are brass, and they may match the brass jewelry that I have on the door. So I may even hang them, and then after they get hung, I might do a little bit of brass rubbing on them. What do you think, Stuart?
I like it.
Yeah, a little bit of brass rubbing on them, so they then speak to that one, and they also will have a little bit of that sheen that the brass has. So that's just another thought. I'm kind of playing with it. I also think it might make them look a little bit more expensive. But by the way, these are heavy, you guys. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Tell me your thoughts on that. If I know anything, Stuart, if we know anything, people have really strong opinions.
It's true.
Again, there's usually not a right or a wrong answer. There's just the one that's right for me or for you. So that's the number one thing that I'm addressing. And then I will get a plaque, and somebody, tell me if it was you. I apologize for not screenshotting it. We get so many comments in, you guys.
We're going to get better at that.
We're going to get better at that. But someone made the comment, I thought it was so cute, that on the plaque it says Cottage on the Hill.
I love it.
Don't you love that?
I want to make
what
a
a
little,
charming idea.
Design for it or something.
Yeah, don't you think? We need to make a little logo.
It'd be cool.
Cottage on the Hill with the date that the house was born.
Hey, kind of true.
was built. But it would be, then we'd know the birthday of the house. So there you go. I think that would be very, very fun. Another thing that I'm cogitating on that someone astutely pointed out, Stuart, don't hurt yourself. You're going backwards.
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
Is I am thinking about taking down these shutters. I think someone also pointed out something I had observed. There's no other shutters on the house. They make it look a little busy. To me, they look like they encroach too much on this side of the door frame. So that's something else that I'm thinking about and questioning. So that would be an easy test because I could just take one side off, see if I liked it. And then that's the other thing about so much of what we do, Stuart. Things can be changed, especially my mind, because you will frequently notice that I express something and then I think about it. Something may have changed that then informs a new decision on my part, and that's okay. It's kind of a moving target. I think that's the process of organic design. One thing affects every other thing.
And remember, the only thing that stays the same
is change. And God knows my mind changes a lot. So that is kind of the first thing that I want to discuss with all of you guys out there. Bravo to those of you who noticed it and mentioned it. And yes, we are of like minds. So let me know what you think on the selection of those carriage lights. I kind of like them. Hubs likes them, and I think they speak the same language of the cottage. So Stuart, let's move on to a different area. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, let's do that. Well, I want to address here, Stuart, a number of questions and comments and observations that you guys had about this holly hedge. Starting with, why is it here to begin with? And I don't, I don't want my neighbors to feel offended, like I'm really trying to block them out. What I'm trying to block out is the wind. And the prevailing wind in Oklahoma typically comes from the southwest. And so what I am trying to do is block some of that wind and also get a little bit more shade on this side. I also felt like the hollies would give this kind of a sense of enclosure and some visual weight on this side. Now, a number of you observed, I feel like I'm standing in front of a moat, Stuart.
Yeah.
Because we're
I didn't even look down.
Yeah, we're in the middle.
You were safe there at least.
Putting in the irrigation system, and there's a lot of water, which shows that this area, here's a tip, Stuart, let's show this. That the water is not completely draining out of here. That tells me this is probably clay soil. But it also tells me that it's not such a bad thing that it rained after these trenches were dug, because look at all that moisture I'm going to get to the subsoil down there. It will absorb it, and that water will go down deep, hopefully encouraging the deep penetration of whatever it is that I decide to plant here. A number of you had questions about the holly hedge, and hedge is there kind of intentionally. And by the way, Stuart, we have some competition with, it sounds like some drills and things, because another progress report is I'm having to have a lot of restorative work done in the basement because I had a water issue down there and maybe even a foundation issue, and they are here today addressing that. So not everything is always happy at the Cottage on the Hill, Stuart.
That's life.
Sometimes things need to be done to make sure there's no future damage. So back to my holly hedge. So you may recall, Stuart, this might be, I said a before and after, you said a before and kind of an in-between,
yeah.
because it's hardly an after yet. But I planted these 2 large Nellie Stevens hollies, and a number of you wondered why I had them so close together. And that's because, to a certain extent, I did want to create a hedge. They would grow together, and I would have a green wall on this side. Again, to help as a wind block, and also to give a backdrop to what I anticipate will be kind of a garden bench in front. Now, the reason that this one in the center is shorter than the others is because it was transplanted from being a little bit too close to the house. And it had been growing in place for a while. These had been growing in the nursery, but it is the same variety. And over time, it will grow up and it will probably be equal in stature as the other 2. Now, does it bother me that it's a little bit of a different shade of green and it's a little bit smaller? No, because I think that will just accentuate this little bit of recession that I will have here, where there's a little garden bench that sits kind of back here in the recession. And it's a nice point of punctuation and backdrop for what I anticipate to be here in the future. So that's a little bit about this holly hedge, and then it will be beautifully framed by these red buds, which are still in the process of coming out. So that pretty much, I think, explains this area over here. There will be more shorter in stature evergreens that will go along the west side of the house and in front, with some stepping stones that go along the west side of the house. But again, this will kind of give it the visual weight on the west side that I want, and a very, very valuable windbreak. Stuart, shall we move on to the next area?
Keep on moving on.
Okay, let's do it. Well, as promised, the material for the front patio has arrived. It's been way too wet. We've had a lot of rain, which I'm so happy about. I'm not complaining, but it has deterred making any kind of progress on putting down the flagstone for the Flagstone patio. A number of you felt that it wasn't the area that we had cordoned off for the patio wasn't large enough. Well, again, nothing is fixed in concrete at this point. If we take out that back section near the house, Stuart, where those nandinas are, then that will give me more space. But also, I can move and bump that line out, the perimeter, by, a foot or 2 if I decide it's a little bit too tight. So again, at this point, everything is in progress. It's more important to me that I get a feel for where things will go and the shape and the contours and scale than I get exacting measurements of what will go there. That's something that, Stuart, we can try out. We can, sit in that space. We can move around in that space. But we need to tear out some other shrubs first. Okay, so this is the beautiful, look at this gorgeous brick here, Stuart. This is used brick. And one
looks like your old house, doesn't it?
It does look like my old house, in addition to this house. But one of the things that was my very favorite features of the last house, Stuart, we need to find a picture, is some of the herringbone areas of brick that I had in front of a garden bench and in different areas in the bistro area. I loved that herringbone pattern of the brick.
Yeah.
So a little bit of that design is going to be in the patio itself. And then, of course, we will add some of this gorgeous flagstone here. And it looks lighter or darker depending on the light, and then there will be gravel in between. But I love the color of it. It's very befitting the cottage, and I think it will be really, really beautiful. I especially love, Stuart, if we can show a close-up here.
I think we can.
Okay, look at how beautifully some of it has that dark gray patina. So there will be variations in the color of it, which will make it look older, will make it look very textured, will give it some depth, and I think will also give it very valuable dimension. So I am very excited about that, Stuart. And I think this might be a good point to let's move to our next area that I kind of want to explain a little bit more fully. Let's do it. So Stuart, I don't think we've ever really closely showed this area. This is the area that is just to the north of the patio. So if we swing around a little bit, people will get a better idea of the scale of the patio from this angle. And then depending on where in this arch here we point, I've got anywhere from 5 to 6 feet, 3 to 4 feet.
Show them the arch you're talking about again.
Yeah, additional depth. Okay, so see how there's this contour of this flower bed, kind of a ribbon?
Yeah.
Depending on where I stand in terms of this profile, there's an additional like 5 to 6 feet to the house, 3 to 4 feet to the house,
Yeah.
which will give me additional real estate for the front patio. The other thing is, some of you were asking about the window box and would it be attached to the house. So it will not be attached to the house, because if it were, I would have to get HP approval. I also don't want to attach it to the house because my window boxes are always very, very large and they are very heavy. So while it will appear as a window box, and the window box, the top of the window box will be about here, what it will be is a large lined wooden rectangular planter that will be stained to match the trim of my house. And what will happen is there will be a post or a pedestal upon where it will rest on this side. And then over here on this concrete section, can you see that, Stuart?
Yeah, we can see it.
On this concrete section, there'll be a pedestal that will just be shorter. So the illusion will be that it's all at the same length. And then in front of this section, there will be, and in this area right here, there will be a little bit of planting to soften this on the other side. It will all kind of make sense once it's in place. So there'll be the window box there. There might be a few or maybe no evergreens planted down at the base of it, but then I'll have additional space here. It is at this point, after this has been done, I'll take out these nandinas, I'll move these boxwood around. It is at this point that I can then determine if I need an additional foot or so on the patio. Many of you were concerned about that. It's hard to tell dimensions from this video, but if you are standing right here, you can see that there's pretty much room in between these chairs. It will also be dictated to a certain extent on the size of the table that I decide to put in place, and whether or not the umbrella will come out of the table or to the side of the table. That all remains to be seen. A number of you also commented and made the suggestion, well, maybe at the base of the window box I could make an area, a storage area or whatever for the umbrella, but that might be a little bit unwieldy to turn it on its side and get it underneath there. That's a little bit too...
Not a bad thought, though.
But it's not a bad thought. And there, some other storage for other items might be good down there. It's just for these old bones, bending down there might be a little bit awkward. So for me, it will be easier to just put it in that front closet. So Stuart, have I forgotten to address any questions that everybody had about this space here?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, this will not look so wonky as it does right now. And this section here is a little bit still in progress, but again, it will not look so cut off and unfinished once this has some solid plant material in here. And it may be that I don't want. And if I added, by the way, a number of you suggested, why not just extend the porch over here, extend the wrought iron and everything? That would take months and months and months of historic preservation approval and probably would not get approved. So I'm not even going to travel down that path. I'm going to work with what I've got. And I think it will all blend in nicely. I may not want any ingress into this patio from the porch itself, the upper porch, because I might want to always have an additional side chair here. It may be, and it's not too inconvenient, that people will just come down here and enter here. That's not such a far way to have to walk.
How dare you ask people to walk that far?
What was that?
I said, how dare you ask people to walk that far?
To walk an additional 4 steps.
Man.
So this is in progress. As things begin to flesh out, common sense will dictate certain answers at certain decision points. And again, to readdress the red paint, I will use a chemical paint remover. I just haven't gotten to it yet. And then we may put some kind of sealant on the porch. All of this will come in due time. But I so love all of your comments, insightful comments. And a lot of it is I am restricted from executing a number of your ideas because of HP restrictions. But nevertheless, they sometimes help me look at things in a new way. A number of you have commented that you're just glad that I'm not defensive when people make suggestions, and I think that's how good ideas happen.
Yeah.
Is when we're willing to be open-minded.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, don't you think, Stuart?
Well, that's the purpose of working with people. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, is I'm very open-minded to some of your comments. I may or may not agree with them, or I may agree with them and then change my mind. I just kind of go back and forth on it. But also the other thing is Stuart and I are seeing this in real life and not just a video screen. So I think sometimes that also colors.
There's something to that, yeah.
Yeah, colors the scale of things, etc., etc. And then we, of course, still have to have this replaced, this segment of concrete, and we're working on that too. But I think despite the fact that we've had a lot of rain and we've only been here about a month, I think things are progressing pretty quickly.
I think they are too, but before we end this, I want to show people why I'm not moving.
Yes, A, because he has on white tennis shoes, and B, because I threw him.
She gave me an island.
I gave you a little island to stand on. Another update, so fun for me. I talked to my buddy up at Southern Living Plants and Encore Azalea, Better Boxwood, and we have a huge plant list of things that are going to be coming in and planted here, and I think it's going to be absolutely spectacular. And it does not escape me that I am so fortunate that I can come in with mature specimens of plants and that they are helping me with this, not only from a financial standpoint, but also a practical standpoint. But this is actually, you know, after all, this is what I do. And 30 years ago, when I created that garden, over 30 years ago, the old garden, I didn't have any of these advantages, and I still managed to create a beautiful space. The other thing is I'm a lot older now, Stuart.
Seems to happen.
And I'm not going to be around for a lot of this stuff to mature. So I'd like to think that that old garden helped create the new garden and helped pay for this new garden. So I think that's kind of I like the continuity of that. I like the legacy of the old garden extending into this new garden.
Absolutely.
What do you think? So, have I forgotten anything outside? We will be later in the show showing you a little bit of content from the back. I haven't showed you a lot because it's so much in a state of progress. A lot of you have asked where my driveway is. I don't have a driveway. I have an alley, and we'll show you that in a future segment or a future video. I'm not really sure right now. So many of you have wondered about why I don't have a driveway and how I access my house. So here is the side of my house with those beautiful cedar trees that some of you like, some of you don't. I go back and forth, but I've decided that they kind of look like the French Riviera. So I've decided to like them, at least for the while.
I like that.
And then down here, Stuart, you can see that this is the entrance to the alley that then goes back, and we can actually pull into the garage. Now, I'm not going to show you that right now. Stuart can show you an image of where the garage is, but we actually have a garage that we can pull in. And right now, it's filled with boxes and things from moving. Once that gets a little bit more organized and a little bit more situated, I'll show it to you. But there's some people working in the back right now, and I want to respect their privacy. So I will show you that a little bit later. And Stuart, can we just maybe get a snapshot of the garage from another vantage point? Okay, so I think that's it for right now. Is that okay with you, Stuart?
That's all right with me.
Okay, let's move to another area. But Stuart, I'm kind of chilly.
Yeah.
You want to go in?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go in. Well, Stuart, it is time to compose our bouquet of the week, one of my very favorite activities of living a garden-inspired life. And it's all, my inspiration for today is my office, and I'm going to be showing you that momentarily because I got the additional pieces of my bookcase wall in place. And I'm going to be, zhuzhing them up, and to keep me company, I want some really beautiful flowers. Now, in that office, I just think these are absolutely gorgeous. But in that office, aren't they pretty, Stuart? I've always had plum and kind of a chartreuse color, I guess. And when I went to Trader Joe's and saw these calla lilies in every shade and hue of plum, I thought they were absolutely gorgeous. And even though my bouquets from last week, these cherry blossom branches are still going strong, and they won't be in the same room, I nevertheless like to find, look how beautifully those coordinate together, Stuart. Isn't that pretty? The plum almost looks like the deep brown of the branch itself. So this is a very simple and I think just elegant arrangement. It's a no-brainer, you guys. Nothing magical here. I think this was four bunches for $4.99 at Trader Joe's. I've just got some clear, cool water in here. Oftentimes you have asked me, okay, do I use any of this cut flower food or not? And I periodically do, but I am not slavish about it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. In this case, because I'm not very experienced with arranging or composing using calla lilies as a cut flower, I'm going to put some of this food in here. And then you can just kind of use the stem as a stirrer so you don't dirty another utensil until it kind of is dissolved into the water. So then I may or may not try to do the spiral thing, but what I definitely am going to do is I'm going to cut some of these off, to recut them again so that it will be, these have been conditioning, by the way, overnight, but so that they will then have a fresh cut that will drop that much more water and keep them beautiful in the vase for that much longer. So I'm just going to cut, maybe an inch off of them. And in this case, sometimes I found it's almost better to use scissors. I about flew the top of that flower food packet at you, Stuart. So I'm going to just kind of get an idea of how the height of these that I want in the vase. I want some of them a little bit higher, some of them a little bit lower. And I'm doing this over the sink because these are soft and fleshy stems, and I will be able to just turn on the garbage disposal when I'm finished. Don't you love all of the color echoes in that, Stuart? Aren't they beautiful? Mm-hmm. And I don't know, you guys out there that live in areas, maybe in California, in places where these grow easily outside, let me know about the growing habit of these because I'm not familiar with it. I love the fact, like on this one, that the color of that stem is the same purple hue as the flower itself. And in this case, I think the stems are every bit almost as beautiful because they've got kind of a speckled quality to some of them too, as the flower themselves. But I digress. And if you are in an area where these grow in your garden spaces outside, let me know what kind of cultural requirements they like. I'm going to guess they probably like really, really good drainage. Don't you like the way they cascade, Stuart?
It's perfect.
I think they're really beautiful. And one of the reasons that I chose a glass container for this is because I can look at the beautiful colorings and kind of the freckling, if you will, on the stems, and I can see that through the glass vase. And I like the way some of these just kind of arch and cascade over the side. Increasingly, I find that I don't know, I am just drawn to bouquets that are of a single kind of flower, a single stem. But I'll be curious to see how long these last since I'm not familiar with them. And this will go on my desk because Stuart will tell you I have so much desk work to do. We were just talking about it, that I need to get back to doing my newsletter. I need to get back to finalizing some projects, one of which, you guys, is my garden journal that will be coming out this year. And I'm doing lots of presentations, lots of public speaking, and I need to work on an outline for some of those. I'm going to be in North Carolina in the fall. I'm doing lots of programs here in Oklahoma City. I'm going to go to Enid, Oklahoma shortly, where my husband was born and lived growing up. Love Enid. Okay, so I've just got 3 more of these, Stuart. I don't know what that looks like from your vantage point,
pretty
Stuart,
good looking.
but it's just kind of uniform all the way around. And then typically I do what I think of as kind of a hiccup. Once I get it in place and I want it to flow a little bit more casually, I just give it a little hiccup like that. The hyacinths, if you haven't watched the video, the Sunday show from last week, you might want to watch that because I potted up some hyacinths in purple and purplish hues. Not plum, but more bluish purple, and they were absolutely beautiful. And they were still growing in the bulb form. I put them in a silver-plated bowl and obviously in soil. As they started to flop, I just cut them off, and now they are in a vase, because they definitely still have some life left in them, but they were starting to cascade over the side and weren't standing up and flying right. So now I probably will position them by my bedside table so that I can enjoy their fragrance. What do you think, Stuart?
Pretty cool.
Pretty easy, no brainer. But let's give them a beautiful close-up shot.
I'm on it right now.
Of all of those hues of cream and green and plum. It makes me happy. Stuart, let's take a little break and then I'll show you where I'm going to put them in my office. Well, even though it is a Saturday, more activity is in play here. So my friend Victor that you've met before, he is bringing me the Yopons and my Chinese Snowball viburnum. Now I think the Yopons, which are going to go on the east side of the patio, those, I don't think we're going to go ahead and install those today because it's still really, really wet up here and I don't want to destroy the tilth of the soil. But back where the Snowball viburnum is going to go, I think it's drier, and I think we might be able to go ahead and get it planted today. So hopefully they won't have too much difficulty in using the dollies to get them up here, because we are, you know, this is the cottage on the hill and there is a hill that they have to traverse to get it up here. So they're getting them off of the truck now. It takes so much strength to be able to move these, and I so appreciate having the help to do this. Again, these are larger, probably larger specimens than I normally would get, but I'm a lot older now and I won't have time for them to grow in place. Oh my gosh, look at that Snowball viburnum. Okay, I'm doing this. Stuart's not here, and this is going to be a surprise for Stuart when he gets here, because he doesn't know it's coming today. We're going to do a little bit of shooting later this afternoon, and he doesn't know that it's coming today, so this will be a happy surprise for him. If you follow this channel for any length of time, you know that Stuart was obsessed with the Snowball viburnum. And I think when we checked it out, that it had great big fat buds on it. This is always interesting to me to see how to get up. Ah, I'm in the way, you guys, sorry. Now they're going to have to go across the irrigation trenches to get it in place. This is where I envision it to kind of hang over the wall. And God love them, not only are they having to work in the mud, but they're having to work around the staged brick and flagstone. These guys are real troopers. Victor, look at these huge fat buds. This makes me so happy because it was one of the most difficult things I left behind in my other garden was that. Remember how glorious it was in the spring?
It was very nice. I remember.
Yes. So thank you for this, you guys.
You're very welcome.
So the beauty of this placement is I'm going to be able to see this from my bedroom window. And when it's in bloom, it should be just an absolute explosion of white on this corner. Victor, do you agree with my positioning of it here on the corner?
Yes.
Don't you think as you come down Dewey, it will be absolutely spectacular?
Yes.
Here's a close-up of these Yopon hollies. And they've got beautiful berries on them. I don't care about that now, but I will care about that in the wintertime. And these have lots of twigginess on the interior. And I won't prune a lot initially, but I will be pruning out some of that twigginess because you guys know how I like to limb things up and prune them. But look at those gorgeous berries. Really beautiful. Well, Stuart, everybody's going to know it's Saturday at noon.
Oh, we got
Maybe
the
they
alarm
can
going
hear.
off
Maybe they
outside.
can hear the siren that goes off every Saturday at noon. And this will kind of give you an idea of how my house fits together. Come through the hallway, Stuart.
Oh, I just showed them your laundry.
You just showed them my laundry? Okay, don't do that. But you can show them that I got another one of these wonderful picture lights. I still have to get the glass fixed on this and the frame fixed on this, but in due time. So I think that these calla lilies will look beautiful in here. Let me come around from that vantage point and see. I think they'll really be beautiful because I'm not going to be working on my computer a lot. I'm actually going to be referencing some books and things, so I don't even have my monitor up. I think they look very, very pretty there. Don't you, Stuart?
I would agree.
And if you can kind of just do a pan, editing out the uglies, Stuart, because I'm still in process, but you can see that it accentuates some of the plum appointments that I've got in the room. I just got these darling little lumbar pillows.
Coming that way. Hold on one second.
Okay. I got these sweet little lumbar pillows. The covers actually came from eBay, so they're reused, recycled, repurposed. I think this was a Habitat for Humanity thing, so by buying through them, they get any kind of profit from it. And then I just got some inserts for them, so I like them. I've got one here and I've got one on my desk chair. Now the inspiration for some of the coloring and things in the room is an old Martha Stewart magazine. I just love the deep, rich plum pink. What other colors would you say?
It's crazy. It looks like it's like saturated.
Yeah, really almost black. And I loved the colors in that. So that was kind of my inspiration for the color palette for the room. Now, Stuart, I'm not going to tell you now, but I have a surprise for you. But I'm not going to show it. Yeah, I've got a surprise for you, but I'm not going to show you until we finish this segment. Okay. So let me give you a progress report. I'm still in the process of styling all of this. Notice my stack of plum-colored books here, Stuart.
I hadn't seen that. I mean, I've seen the thing before, but not up there on top. I think.
Oh, up on top?
Yeah,
that's a piece of art. It's a sculpture that my husband had when he was still single. And it's just kind of quirky.
And it's made it this whole time.
It's been there the whole time. It's painted canvas. And I just liked the way it looked up there. I liked the I just like the
I've
vibrant
always
colors
liked it. I
of
thought
it.
it was cool, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the development that I don't think our followers have seen, and that's that I added on these two
talked about doing it,
additional
yeah.
side ends to the Billy bookcases. So this whole wall, this is the Billy bookcase system in birch veneer. You can also get it in black, and you can get it in white. And as a rehash, I got this birch color because I liked the way it matched my light floors, and I also loved the way it looked with the shades. And typically, I think, Stuart, we still have these shades, the link to these shades. This is called Petite Rustic, because I know people will ask again. Love, love, love these shades. I'm still waiting on the sheers and the curtains for in here. So we added this. As you can see, I haven't even filled them yet. We made sure they were very, very level and very secure. So there is one on this end. And then I also have one over here, Stuart, on this end. And what will be nice is I can hang things above it. I can hang things above it. And then obviously I have more room for books, some of which are still out in my garage and are waiting to come inside. Now, somebody has asked, do I really reference all of these books? And actually, yes, I do. I have really weaned out and gleaned out a lot of the ones that I don't use with regularity. I want to show you one that's just, I came across a very, very fun picture, and I'm thinking that on certain occasions I can see my patio out front in some way kind of styled like this, because you see my signature touch boxwood balls and kind of an English flavor. So I can see how that could be kind of styled. That would be fun to do at Easter or Mother's Day or something like that, assuming it wasn't a day that was too windy. Now, Stuart, was there anything else that you wanted to ask about in this room before I show you I show you your surprise?
Well, let's go for it. I'm excited.
Okay, so so while I was waiting for you to get here, Victor and his crew.
Oh, I think I might know.
Came, pulled up front. They unloaded a bunch of the gorgeous Yopon hollies, but they also unloaded, and look out the window, Stuart, you can see it.
Oh, there it is.
Looky there.
I almost swore.
You almost swore.
Said a bad
There,
word.
yeah, it's kind of on an angle now. Obviously, that will be rectified.
It is so crazy how they start like obviously this is how most people kind of keep them, right? At this size.
At this size, but I will prune
No,
that
it's
into
gonna
a
be
small
huge.
tree. But this one already has buds on it. It will grow rapidly.
It is
I have
gonna be
no
big.
doubt. And this is maybe
That's awesome.
5. The one that I had at the other house, at the fairy tale house, it was massive and turned into a
tree.
a small tree that was.
What do you mean
how
that's
tall
small?
would you say that? Yeah, yeah, it became a large tree. How tall would you say that was?
15 to 20 feet.
15 to 20 feet at least, and very, very broad.
I mean, it touched the wires up there. Yeah.
And all of that from an $11 shrub that I got at Lowe's, which was only, about this big. The pot size was only about that big when I got it. And that grew, and that was probably 12 years old maybe. So this one I anticipate in short order, it will get very large and beautiful. I will prune it up, and I am just envisioning that it will give the school kids, bicyclists and things great delight when they pass underneath
Such a neat thing.
its canopy.
Because it stands out. Your backyard, that was like this huge standout.
But it was in the back.
Well, yeah, now it's going to be a standout out front. Exactly. It's going to be like impossible to ignore.
It
And
will
other
be-
people are probably going to start doing it. At this
Well,
point.
I hope so,
It'd be
because
beautiful.
it's really great.
Yeah.
And then, Stuart, if you guys will forgive the messy exposure, but right here, these sad arborvitaes, these are on the east side of the house. See, Stuart, this
All
is such
kinds of
a
people.
walkable neighborhood. There's just, today it's really been active because it's beautiful out. But this whole area that I'll be able to see outside my office and also outside my bedroom window will largely be in white. So this is where a lot of those Southern Living plants are going to come to my rescue. There'll be a couple of, I've talked about it before, Oakland hollies, white wedding hydrangeas, some white encore azaleas, which by the way reminds me, I need to tell Carrie, our friend the Bug Whisperer, who now works for Garden Media and with Encore Azalea. I need to remind her which ones of those that I want. I cannot wait to show you guys the beautiful specimens that are going to arrive. But more importantly, it's all about me. I can't wait to see it myself because I am ready to have a garden. And so there you have it. If you look out there, Stuart, also, they have not been pruned or anything, but you can see the Yopon hollies that will surround the small patio that has been ever so, I don't want to say controversial, but people have been very, very opinionated about it. So I'm anxious for that to start being laid this coming week when the soil dries out a little bit, so you guys can hopefully get a glimpse of my vision, and also so that a lot of this mud can go away and be covered up. Stuart, is there anything else that we wanted to share on this Sunday show today?
I mean, I don't think so. It's quite a bit.
Stay tuned. We will be announcing probably tomorrow or the next day when our next Linda Vaughter Live is going to be. I think we're going to try to do it maybe next Saturday, but we need to check our schedules to see if we've got any conflicts. But stay tuned because I know you guys have lots of questions to ask me as to how I feel about the move, how we're settling in, do I have any regrets, would I do it again, and how I feel about all of the impending changes here at the Cottage on the Hill.